Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Club Possum Music Show, coming to you live from the Club Possum Event Center just off the Court Square in beautiful downtown Mountain View, Arkansas. Our Club Possum shows are broadcast or live streamed on the Club Possum Event Center YouTube channel and Facebook page, as well as broadcast on our local nonprofit radio station, KWMV 88.5 FM. The Club Possum Music Shows are a production of Ozark Roots Music and Art, which is a nonprofit organization dedicated to preserving the local music culture here in Mountain View. Support for Ozark Roots Music and Art is provided in part by the Arkansas Arts Council, an agency of the Department of Arkansas Heritage and the National Endowment for the Arts. We are also supported by generous donations from many of our local-owned businesses and the many fine Possum Patreon supporters that help keep our local music alive and kicking through regular monthly donations. If you're interested in becoming a Possum patron and supporting our live shows, you can head on over to www.patreon.com/clubpossum for more information and to get signed up. Generous donations from our audience members are also very much appreciated. If you're joining us in person, we do have a tip bucket located back here by the front entrance. Or if you're joining us online or you're tuned in to KWMV 88.5, you can make a donation online at paypal.me/OzarkRootsMusic. And to our in-person audience, we do allow you to take photos and record videos, but on behalf of our performers, we do ask that you not use a flash. And tonight we do have an incredibly talented performer with us. She has played at Club Possum many, many times before. We don't get her down this way very often anymore, but we're always happy to have her here. She is an excellent singer-songwriter. She grew up in the hills of Arkansas, and the vast majority of the songs that she's written deal with true stories that she experienced growing up or that were handed down to her family or given to her by other friends in the Ozarks. And I've always enjoyed hearing her music, and there'll be some traditional gospel songs thrown in, I'm sure. Will you please make welcome Miss Carolyn Carter.
Thank you, Grisham. Thank you, all of you. Well, it's nice to be back up here. I don't make it up here very often, but it's always such a pleasure to come back to Mountain View, and I love the Possum Club Event Center. It's one of my favorite places. I am a singer-songwriter. I am a storyteller sometimes, and I have some requests that some people have turned in to me. I'll be doing some songs that some of you have heard probably many times, and maybe some of you have not heard. I'll start off by saying the pennies. The pennies are leaving. Nobody wants our pennies anymore. I had a Uncle Josiah, an uncle of my dad's, who used to give pennies to the kids when he'd go downtown. 1932, his dad, my dad's dad, said that a penny would buy you a cup of coffee, a loose cigarette. It would buy you a newspaper. It would buy an apple at the corner. And you could pay a penny a mile to ride the train, so you could go 100 miles for $1. Anyway, I just wrote this song called St. Joe about pennies. Let me tell you the story about a man the children call St. Joe. He lived up in Izard County, near the rocks in Calico. His daddy was a farmer. His mama was Cheyenne. They worked hard to raise a family. They both died before Joe became a man. And early every Sunday morning, down the old dirt road he'd go, with his banjo and his Bible, walked the man the children called St. Joe. Joe worked down at the sawmill, and he worked 6 long days a week. And in the evening, on his way home, he'd give his pennies to the children in the street. He'd say, now don't forget about Sunday. We'll sing songs in Sunday school. Say your prayers, mind your parents. And don't forget the golden rule. And every early Sunday morning, down the old dirt road he'd go, with his banjo and his Bible. Walked the man the children called St. Joe. Joe died one Friday evening. Saturday they lay him in the ground. They lay his banjo down beside him. They gave his Bible to the children in the town. That old road grew lonesome. Nary sparrow would sing. The children missed their good friend and decided to do this very thing. Now early every Sunday morning, down the old dirt road they'll go, with their pennies and Joe's Bible. Better to live, better to give, like St. Joe. Thank you. Now we're going to talk about immigration. Oh, the immigration, it's a sore subject these days. It should be on one hand, and it shouldn't be on one hand. But in the mid-1800s, 1.5 million people came across the ocean. We had Irish, Scotch-Irish, German, Italian, and other countries. And they came to America to build a good life, to work hard, which is why some people are kind of against the one that we have so many coming in right now, because some of them, they think, just want to take and don't want to build a good life. Well, that's neither for us to say, I suppose, but most of them that came from across the ocean, our folks, our ancestors, they came to build a good life. They worked hard, and that's why a lot of us are here today. I call this song Good Timber. Good Timber. Levi lives in a shanty high upon Blackberry brought 2-pack mule and a family. They settled east of the swinging bridge. Spring, summer, winter, or fall, only the good timber grows tall. Abraham lives in a cavern near the icy waters of the buffalo. Spoke of this land as a great adventure, carried a fiddle everywhere he'd go. Good timber does not grow in ease. The stronger the wind, the stronger the trees. Their daddy's daddy came from across the sea with a working hand that could stop the clock of time, with a fire and desire to claim an untamed land. Good timber is hard to find. Good timber is hard to find. Becky's wagons got stuck in the holler, and her husband struggles with his mind. She turned that wagon into a cabin. She learned to hunt, to fish, to survive. Spring, summer, winter, or fall, only the good timber grows tall. Millie lives in a boxcar near Rush Valley in the old zinc mine. Born on a cold December morning under the danger keep out sign. Good timber does not grow in ease. The stronger the wind, the stronger the trees. And their mama's mama came from across the sea with a working hand that could stop the clock of time, and with a fire and a desire to claim an untamed land. Good timber is hard to find. Good timber is hard to find. Thank you. I wrote this next song down, singing down at the Sillamore Baptist Church years ago. I did a singing down there. And a lady had come up and told me that Her grandma used to preach there. And I went home and wrote this little song called Grandma Was the Preacher. Well, Grandma was the preacher down on Sylamore Creek. And all the men had gone to war, there was no one left to speak. Benches made of cedar, an old barn, an oil lamp, and everyone would be there, from the mayor to the tramp. And Grandma told a story about the Savior's birth. She told how Jesus lived and died upon this heathen earth. And she talked about salvation. She talked about Calvary. Grandma'd always ask you, where you gonna spend eternity? Now the little blue-eyed girl was looking up into my face. She said, I come from a long line of women preachers saved by grace. But I guess my generation got looked over by the Lord. But I'd tell a pretty good story. Since you're here, would you like to hear more? Well, Grandma used to baptize down on Sylamore Creek. And all the town would be there, singing, bringing in the sheaves. A long line of sinners stepped into the river wide, and a long line of Christians stepped out on the other side. The day we buried Grandma, the sun was shining high, and all the birds were singing, not a cloud in the sky. And I know it might sound funny, but I swear I heard her say, make sure your heart is right, get ready for the judgment day. Grandma was the preacher down on Sylamore Creek. Thank you. Mid-1800s, the yellow fever went through Arkansas. It went through a lot of places, but when it went through Arkansas, it went through a lot of towards the Arkansas River, but around the Buffalo River, it hit some communities up around that way, and there's a little graveyard up there. It has a lot of flowers growing on it. It's just got 3 or 4 little graves, and we always called it Buttermilk Hill. And so I wrote a song about Buttermilk Hill, about the yellow fever. When the yellow fever hit Arkansas, or after it was over, is when actually the Arkansas Department of Health started. That's when they started. They decided we got to start taking care and learn some good, clean ways to take care of our people. So Buttermilk Hill. The daffodils are growing on Buttermilk Hill. A little cemetery resting there still. Dreams of corn and cotton, a starry summer night, and snowfall on the mountain, and wild geese in flight. Daniel left the valley in 1871. In a covered wagon with a wife and a son. Springtime brought the baby, a little girl so fair, Daniel had his dreams of ribbons in her hair. Daniel's son Josiah loved the woods and fields, but little Isabella loved the daffodils. They would sit for hours with their buttermilk and bread, listening to the stories from the Bible Mama read. Mama caught the fever. She grew listless and pale, and Josiah could not fight it. He grew ill as well. And God took Isabella on a starry winter night, with snowfall on the mountains, and wild geese in flight. Daniel left the valley in 1873 in a covered wagon. He set the livestock free. Maybe California would be a good start, but on Buttermilk Hill in Arkansas is where he left his heart. The daffodils are growing on Buttermilk Hill. A little cemetery, rest is there still. Thank you. You know, for some reason, Easter flowers, that's what we always called them, Easter flowers, always grow, seem like where there was an old homestead. Yeah, and that's where this little cemetery sets up in the woods up there by the buffalo. Well, let's see. Okay, I'm going to do a song I wrote called Bridge Builder. My granny and her sister and her family, they came from Kentucky and were very superstitious. And they, you know, did the spells for the Hanks and all that stuff, you know, all the time. We always had to, don't go out, you always have to go out the same door you come in. You can't go out, you know, stuff like that. And so they had a healer, she said, when they were children. And a lot of people in the Ozarks call them a granny woman. But in Kentucky, in the Blue Ridge, they called her a bridge builder. And she came to really only to help a person that was dying, to help him pass if he was having trouble. He was in so much pain, or he just couldn't let go. And they would call her. And she was called the bridge builder. So, and they, another thing that they always did, they planted white lilies in front of all their windows because it keeps the negative spirit out, keeps the good spirit in. And guess who has white lilies in her front yard? Not under every window, but they're blooming today. They're beautiful snow white lilies. But she would pick the bouquet of the white lilies and lay them, you know, make sure they're laying around. They would cover the mirrors in the house because so the spirit wouldn't see itself and go into a mirror. That's how superstitious they were. And they were very serious about it. So, of course, I had to write this song. It's called The Bridge Builder. See if I got this in the right key here. Full moon rising o'er the canyon, death bones rattle in the trees. The old grandmother brings the lily, her tangled hair blows in the breeze. Blackbird sits in the window, a sign they can no longer ignore. They all make way for the old grandmother as she lay the lily by the door. And she say, I be the bridge builder, I come to take you to the other side. Do not fear the old grandmother, death brought me here to be your guide. It is clear that you seek a journey to a land of peace that knows no time. From the chains and struggles you are weary, a crossing you must find. But the road is dark and unfamiliar. The earth unsure beneath your feet. Take the hand of the old grandmother as this journey we complete. And she say, I'll be the bridge builder, I come to take you to the other side. Do not fear the old grandmother, death brought me here to be your guide. Blackbird lifted from the window, straight back to hell he flew. And as your spirit rose, you whispered, farewell, my friend, the bridge is in view. And she said, I be the bridge builder, I come to take you to the other side. Do not fear the old grandmother, death brought me here to be Thank you. You probably need a little Jesus after that. But I'm going to go on with another song. I'm trying to do some songs that I don't sing the same songs every year that I come, so I won't sing no spooky songs for y'all now. Anyway, this is a song called Henry Parker. Let's see here. Called Henry Parker. Who lit the lantern in the church house? Who was the last one out the door? Somebody murdered Henry Parker, and they left him lying there on the floor. Down in a little town called Flat Creek, young Reverend Taylor stood, telling all his congregation a little peace is what it took. There in the second row was Ruby, auburn hair and eyes of night. Her mama was an Indian princess, and her daddy ran off with another man's wife. It was a cold Sunday morning when Henry Parker came to town, riding high on a buckskin, wearing nothing but leather and a frown. Ruby's daddy promised Henry he could have her for his wife, but Ruby loved the young preacher, and the young preacher was building him a life. Well, who lit the lantern in the church house? And who was the last one out the door? Somebody murdered Henry Parker, and they left him lying there on the floor. It was a cold Sunday evening when Henry Parker went slipping around. He went to call out the young preacher, 'cause he heard about him and Ruby back in town. He saw the light in the window as he kicked in the old church door. Someone standing there with an old peacemaker, and they fired one shot, nothing more. Down in a little town called Flat Creek, young Reverend Taylor stood, telling all his congregation a little peace was what it took. Thank you. Do a song for you that I wrote about a friend of mine, really, called The Butterfly. I got a request to do this song. Hope you enjoy it. She made her way across the forest floor, like she'd done so many times before. She struggled hard to climb the mountain, only to lift her eyes and watch the eagle soar. She watched others hurry by on their way to better things, so she tried to hitch a ride with the wind. Winter grew cold. Her weary heart told her that a silly little worm she would be until the very end. So she made her way down into a valley. She crawled in a hole, wrapped up tight. No more would she try. But on the first day of spring, she heard the robin sing, and behold, she emerged a butterfly. And you are what you are for a reason. You're part of an intricate plan in a moment of time. Wise King Solomon said it best, our days are numbered. Don't let life flutter by. Behold the butterfly. She spent most her life taking care of others, and she never missed the flowers that never came. She struggled hard to always please him, but he left anyway. She was so ashamed. Like Noah's weary dove, she could find no place to rest. She tried to hitch a ride on the wind. She threw her life into her children, but soon they were gone, and she found herself alone again. So she made her way down into a valley. She crawled in a hole she wrapped up tight. No more would she try. But her strength and determination, a lot of prayer and a little medication, behold, she emerged a butterfly. He made his way outside of the city, so no one could see him cry. Too manly, you know, to let anyone know the reason why. He said, my life is a failure. I'm too old to start again. Why would anyone want such a worm of a man as I? So he made his way down into the valley. He crawled in a hole he wrapped up tight. No more would he cry. But he met her in the spring, taking care of little things like hummingbirds and little green worms and butterflies. And you are what you are for a reason. You're part of an intricate plan in a moment of time. Wise King Solomon said it best, our days are numbered. Don't let life flutter by. Behold the butterfly. Thank you. When I was only 8 years old, my family took a trip to go see my Aunt Dinah, who I had never met. We drove and drove for most of the day, and all the sights I saw. But the grandest thing I ever seen was my Aunt Dinah's wall. She had Elvis in the east corner, John Wayne in the west. She had Jesus in the center, 'cause she said she liked him best. She had birds and bees and flowers and trees and plates of every size. She had rabbits and squirrels and hula girls and deer with big brown eyes. And all the while I was a child, my favorite was Aunt Dinah. She had an all-inviting, needed no lighting, Great Wall of China. She had a president with a ponytail and a princess dressed in white. She had a fireman with a spotted dog and a Christmas tree and lights. She had vegetables of every kind, 3 coins in a fountain. She had an Indian maid and an Indian brave pointing o'er the mountain. And all the while I was a child, my favorite was Aunt Dinah. She had an all-inviting, needed no lighting, Great Wall of China. Well, some were cracked, some were chipped, some were almost new. And I think my favorite one of all was a little Dutch girl in blue. She had dogs and frogs and razorback hogs and an old boat named St. Mary. And every state had its own plate and a unicorn and a fairy. All the while I was a child, my favorite was Aunt Dinah. She had an all-inviting, needed no lighting, Great Wall of China. Thank you. Anybody else ever have relatives like that? Yeah, me too. It's everywhere. I had a couple requests they wrote me a little earlier. I'm going to do them for her. Her name is Helen, good friend. She usually is here, and she's wasn't able to be here. So I'm going to do this song for her. Some of you have heard it. The name of the song is The Quilt. Some of the people around here I hear are singing this song a little bit. I wrote this song one day. My husband and I were snowed in. We lived in our camper up there by Blanchard Springs Caverns. We had 3 acres close up there. Snowed in, and my husband went out to check his traps. Comes from a long line of trappers. And the camper was so cold, I got out my granny's and my mom's too. I got out their quilts and I put them over the windows and the doors. And I got to thinking about that quilt, you know. They used like part of a shirt that Grandpa wore, part of a gown, part of a baby's dress, just all different parts. You could write a million songs about each piece in this quilt, but I just wrote a song called The Quilt. There's a little yellow quilt at the foot of my bed. They tuck it 'neath my head at night, fluff the pillow 'neath my head. I hear them whisper quietly. It helps her sleep, it seems. It's the quilt my mama gave to me the day I turned 16. She wrapped it in her Sunday shawl, the one her mama made. She laid it on my dresser at the end of the day. There's a picture of a countryside, an old house and a stream, on the quilt my mama gave to me the day I turned 16. Blow, north wind, blow, take me to this place. It looks so warm, it looks so safe. My memory fails me, but I still dream of the quilt my mama gave to me the day I turned 16. It went with me to college, kept me warm at night. And when I ventured on my own, it kept my blue heart light. And I wrapped my babies in it, I rocked them fast asleep in the quilt my mama gave to me the day I turned 16. Now here am I, and I'm old, and this young girl cares for me. They say she is my daughter's child. How I long for that memory. So when I'm gone, I'll have them wrap my quilt up in my shawl and give it to this young girl who calls me Grandma. Blow, north wind, blow, take me to this place. It looks so warm, it looks so safe. My memory fails me, yet I still dream of the quilt my mama gave to me the day I turned 16. Thank you. I'm gonna tell you another story about my granny and her sister. Not a scary story yet. But they did come from Kentucky, and she did not like the Ozarks at all. But she did meet my grandpa there. And I'll tell you, a not a proud thing to talk about, but they were sent to the Greene County Poor Farm. I'm from Crowley's Ridge, Paragould. The Greene County Poor Farm in Paragould, because her daddy was an alcoholic and couldn't take care of them. So that's where they lived. And every Saturday, they would take corn to town to sell, to the store to sell, because they had to work the fields and stuff, And she met my grandpa on a corner, and he bought her an apple, probably for a penny maybe. And that's where they met, and she was 15, and they met, and she said, for like every Saturday for like a month. And then he married her and took her and her mom and took care of them the rest of their life. But the dad would not go with them. He stayed at the poor farm. So that's just part of history that happens to some of us, I guess. But anyway, this is a song called The Promised Land. She came from Kentucky with her ma and her pa and a heart and a head full of dreams. With an aging grandmother and a newly born brother, born deep in the hills of Tennessee. They settle high on a ridge in East Arkansas, overlooking the valley below. They settle deep in the forest where the wild coyotes cry, with a purple mist wherever you go. And her troubles were many as she labored and toiled. To leave this hard place was her plan. She cried, Lord, please be with me, lead me along and take me to a promised land. She met him high on a ridge in East Arkansas, plowing land in the valley below. They settled deep in the forest where the wild coyotes cry, and a purple mist wherever you go. Troubles are tools that God sends that fuels our life as we journey along. And hard times are bitter, but if you ain't no quitter, you're gonna end up right where you belong. And now the years have gone by, and the children are gone, and their evenings are quiet and still. And when the dishes are dry, she brings coffee and pie, and his touch still brings her thrill. And when the old screen door opens, there's a smile in her eyes as he reaches for her hand. With the coyotes singing on the front porch, they're swinging, looking out over the promised land. Thank you. Thank you. You're very kind to sit and listen to all my songs and stories. I have so many songs that I write that you'd be here too long. I know I've been known to put people to sleep. So, and my husband does bring CDs of all my songs. I know CDs are out of style now, but anyway, he does bring some. If you should want to take me home, they're not very much anyway. So, it's part 2 of The Promised Land. Carly's Ridge is where, like I said, I'm from. This is a story about 2 little graves up in the Fairview area of Paragould, close to where the poor farm used to be. It's an old cemetery. My grandparents are buried there. Their youngest child is buried there, and another child is buried there. My daughter, who died 5 years ago, has a spot there, and someday I'll be there. It's an old, beautiful old cemetery out in the woods. And there's willow trees everywhere out there. The willow tree, a lot of people would bury people under a willow tree because it's supposed to be nature's aspirin. It's supposed to be a painkiller. So the willow bark. So anyway, that's why people would do that. And we go out there, it's almost Decoration Day, which now is called Memorial Day. But Decoration Day is when we'd all go out there and dinner on the ground, literally on the ground, used to. And us kids would run around the headstones and play. And as I got older, I asked about the second little baby's grave that was beside their little baby's grave. And so this is the story that's basically pretty much true also. And I call this song Arkansas Wilderness Wild. Well, I open my eyes every sunrise to the song of the morning dove, and I close my eyes every evening listening to the whippoorwills cry for love. As I pondered on this, I recall a story an old woman told. Happened out on Blood Moon Mountain a long time ago. Now Hans Fitzgerald and his wife Gretel lost their only child, traveling across the Arkansas wilderness wild. They found a spot high on a hill, lay their little girl beneath the willow, and with bitter hearts, broken dreams, there they did settle. Now good young couple from across the way tried to ease their pain, but Gretel missed her mother and cried every time it rained. So the good young couple promised they would fore'er look o'er the little grave, and Hans took Gretel back home to her mama, trying to be brave. And the morning dove said, I'll sing to her, I'll make my nest here in this tree. And the whippoorwill said, I'll cry for her, I'll be right here in the mist of the evening. Now the good young couple had a bone-hard winter, lost their youngest child, trying to survive in the Arkansas wilderness wild. They knew the spot high on the ridge, so they took the little fella and they lay him next to the other child in a little grave beneath the willow. And the morning dove said, I'll sing to him, I've made my nest here in this tree. And the whippoorwill said, I'll cry for him, I'll be right here in the mist of the evening. Now the years have passed, and the two little graves were forgotten, and the woods grew still, and the river took the bridge, and the rocks fell free, and the old road disappeared. When a blood-red moon rises o'er the bluff, and there's a cold November chill, you can hear the sound of children playing on that hill. And there's mourning doves everywhere. There's a nest on every limb of that old tree. And the whippoorwills, they fill the air, and they cry and cry in the mist of the evening. So if you are ever traveling across the Arkansas wilderness wild, you may question, did I just hear a mourning dove, or a whippoorwill, or a child? Thank you. Let's see here what we got here. Okay, I'm gonna do another song for Helen. She requested. This is a song called Mother's Prayer. I didn't practice on this song, but she just wrote me. I think it's this key. Mother's Prayer I wrote. My husband and I used to do the Meals on Wheels program here in Mountain View. We went out to a lot of the hills and the hollers, and I got a lot of good stories out there from a lot of what I call forgotten folks. And Dorothy, I wrote this song. Dorothy told us this story one day that she had so much stuff, like all of us. We have so much stuff, and her kids didn't want any of it. Her grandkids didn't want any of it. And I know how that is, you know, they don't want it. Anyway, she said all she wanted was to see all her kids in heaven, which is what we all as mothers want. So I wrote this song called Mother's Prayer. The sun came out this morning, just like the day before. A mama bird was singing outside my kitchen door. I picked up my one blue plate, my one set of silverware. With weary eyes I bowed my head, went to the Lord in prayer. Lord, the doctors say I'm worse. I guess you already know. They say I don't have too much time. I should make plans before I go. Now, Lord, I've lived a good long life. I never asked for much, but I'm asking for this last request that needs the Master's touch. Lord, please set a table for all my family. Put their names on their plates so that I can see. Bring them in, I don't care how or when, as long as we're all there to be with thee eternally, is this mother's prayer. Baby's born, baby's grown. where does this time go? Lord, it don't seem possible that I am growing old. Late at night I still dream of ribbons in her hair, of fishing poles and Tonka trucks and puppies everywhere. Lord, please set a table for all my family. Put their names on their plates so that I can see, and bring them in. I don't care how or when, as long as we're all there to be with thee eternally, is this mother's prayer. Now, Lord, when it is time for me to go, I'll gently take your hand, and I'll proudly walk beside you, Lord, as you lead me to that land. And I'll leave behind my old truck some pictures and some land, and I'll ask you, Lord, to guide them, and beside them always stand. Lord, please set a table for all my family. Put their names on their plates so that I can see, and bring them in. I don't care how or when, just as long as we're all there to be with thee eternally, is this mother's prayer. Thank you. Thank you. So I had a request to do a song I wrote called Hills of Arkansas. I do this a lot, but I had such good memories of this song. A lot of it was just sitting on the front porch when we were kids. Our grandparents mostly raised us. And I remember her coming out of the house, and I remember the screen door slamming. I just remember it so well. And she would come out and she would bring our fruit jars so we could catch lightning bugs. And it was just such a good time in our life. And I wrote this song called Hills of Arkansas. I hope you enjoy it. Well, the year that I turned 12 was the year my mama died. Daddy turned to whiskey, but somehow we survived. Life gets kind of lonesome for a young girl with no ma. Out here in these hills of Arkansas, so I learned to carry water with an old yoke from the barn, and I learned to patch the roof with red mud, clay, and yarn, and I learned to skin a rabbit to feed my ailing paw. Out here in these hills of Arkansas, and the big blue moon seemed to be my only friend, and the hoot owl Well, the years rolled by, and soon I turned 16, and the good Lord blessed, and the corn grew tall and green, and the creek ran clear. There was water for us all out here in these hills of Arkansas. Well, I married Samuel Johnson the year my daddy died. We buried him by mama out on the green hillside. And here we raised our family with no desire to roam. And we thank God for these hills that we call home. And the big blue moon is still my good friend, and the hoot owl still sings to me until the nighttime ends. And as I lay me down to sleep, I pray the Lord my soul to keep me here in these hills of Arkansas. Keep me here in these hills of Arkansas. Thank you. Well, I got one more song for you. It's a little early, I guess, but I'm going to let you go because so you can get your blood pumping again. Go outside. I got one more song for you. Hey, thank you for being here. I love it up here. And thank you to Christopher, and to Grisham, and to Mountain View, and to this event center. Happy Memorial Day, Decoration Day. To everybody, God bless. God is large and in charge. And so this song I wrote called Feed My Sheep. And they told me one time, they said, everybody writes a song about the rain on a Sunday. So sure enough, I wrote a song had rain and Sunday in it. It was early Sunday morning. The rain was pouring down, and he stumbled to the kitchen and he looked around. There was no one there to see him, no coffee on the stove, just another birthday he would spend alone. Do you love me? Feed my sheep, rescue my perishing, care for my weak, give hope to my hopeless, give kindness and peace. Do you love me? Feed my sheep. It was late Christmas evening. She was sitting by the bed. The nursing home was trimmed in green and red, but there was no one there to see her. Her Christmas tree was bare. They had called last month and they said they'd all be there. Do you love me? Feed my sheep, rescue my perishing, care for my weak, give hope to my hopeless, give kindness and peace. Do you love me? Feed my sheep, feed the hungry, warm the cold, honor your father and your mother, give to those who cannot give back, and put God above all others. She was a teenage mother. No one knew her name. Her daddy said that she was the one to blame. So she wrapped her baby in an old sweater, walked into the cold night air, found a little church in the city and left him there. Do you love me? Feed my sheep, rescue my perishing, care for my weak, give hope to my hopeless, give kindness and peace. Do you love me? Feed my sheep. God bless. Decoration Day.
Decoration Day in August where my parents and my grandparents
Yeah.
are there.
Yeah. We do ours on May 30th every year, which is close to Memorial Day, but yeah.
We do one